Hello, and welcome back to my void. Yes, it still looks like this. The emptiness that fills this room is still a haunting realization that the time I have does not always belong to me. And the things I wish to do will remain fantasies unless I do something about it. This channel really is therapy. To begin, I'd like to take you back in time. Back all the way to October. The last time I posted a review here on this channel, my old bookshelves were still filled with a small portion of my collection. I thought it was a small portion. It apparently was all of it, because there's too much room here now. However, what you did not know from that video was how disappointing my reading month of October had been. I was so disappointed, I barely read anything in the month of November. Shocking. Let's start with a long-awaited wrap-up. The one book from my October TBR that I did actually enjoy was Gutted, a collection of beautiful short horror stories that have that sweet little combination of misery and horror, my favorite little cocktail. If you're looking for a quick read here and there, all original stories with hints of melancholic terror, Gutted is for you. Next, Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I came so close to DNFing this book so many times during my read. The only thing that kept me coming back just in case was King's voice claiming this particular book had scared the hell out of him. Now, I don't know what I was missing, but the only thing I found terrifying about this novel was the time I was losing while reading it. Time I could have spent reading other, scarier titles. Maybe it was the demographic, all older white men narrators and boring and predictable behaviors and opinions. I just couldn't relate. I will say though, the prologue had me hooked. The beginning is promising as you don't know why a man has kidnapped an otherwise innocent and defenseless little girl. It isn't until the end of the book do you realize why he kidnapped her and who she could possibly be, but honestly, after the prologue, I was so close to tapping out the whole time. Another October TBR title I was so excited to start and then just so disappointed by the end for similar reasons was Audition by Ryu Murakami. This one was promising, I will say. The premise in the beginning had so much potential. A widower holding auditions for a fake film in the hopes of finding his new bride. Advertised as one of the scariest books ever written, adapted into a cult classic Japanese horror film. I was on the edge of my reading chair the entire time, waiting to be scared. But then I sat back, bored. Again, the only scary thing about the experience while reading this title was the time I was wasting. An apparent October pattern. By the time I started reading Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, I was so fatigued by disappointment I decided to just stop before I was in too deep. That's right, I DNF'd it. Was that difficult to do for me since I have a strong reading FOMO? Yes, but in that point in the month, I was dealing with an apartment full of boxes, truck rentals, address forwardings, my birthday, and the overall stresses of moving in general. So I forgave myself for not enjoying the majority of my picks for what was supposed to be the most fun reading month of the year, and I decided to give myself a break for what was to come in the month of November. I never actually decided not to read or post, it just sort of happened to be the last thing on my mind at the time. I did long for some form of reading companion to help me get through both packing and unpacking. I chose to listen to 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. This was more so a mood reading choice. Being one of his longest titles, I wanted to listen to this one and just take my sweet time doing so. I was able to savor this title for the entire month of November, and when it came to an end, the bittersweet, perfect conclusion was all the more satisfying. I hope to have a dedicated review for this one coming up soon, so I won't add any spoilers here, but tonight, go outside, look at the moon. If she is alone, we are in different worlds. Emmy is calling me. Okay, now for my December wrap-up. First, I was thinking of doing Vlogmas this year on a separate channel. I had done it some time in the past and I found it both fun and stressful. After remembering exactly how stressful, I decided against it for now and in particular. Let me know in the comments below if you watch or participate in Vlogmas or if that's something you'd like to see from this channel next year. And just in case you don't know, in case you live under a rock, Vlogmas is when you vlog and upload every day from December 1st all the way till Christmas, just to make the holidays a bit more stressful. I successfully did so in 2016 and have done it on and off since, mostly off. But I do miss it sometimes and think about it every time it rolls around. My life is also very different than it was back then, so yeah. Alright, back to December wrap-up. Since I am a Grinch and refuse to be too festive, I did not want to read anything specifically Christmas related. I did, however, want to acquire that warm, gooey feeling inside from reading feel-good books, so I chose an array of titles I felt may have realistic expectations. First, Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan, the same author as Crazy Rich Asians. Another very fun read. I find Kwan's contemporary writing style and flow very easy to read in a sophisticated way that just makes me feel expensive. Anyone who knows me knows I love to feel bougie. Not sometimes, all the time. Give me the bouge. And Kwan's stories never disappoint. While reading, I can just feel the imaginary flute of champagne just make its way between my fingers, the bubbly relaxing the back corners of my mind. Sex and Vanity tells the story of a young and wealthy girl in the public eye. Half Caucasian, half Asian, she is invited to a luxurious wedding in Capri, or as they say in the book, Capri. I don't know if that's just an accent or if that's actually how you're supposed to say it. Capri? Capri. That's probably Emmy. Where she meets and quickly falls for a certain off-limits server boy with an Aussie accent. When scandal hits, her reputation is on the line and we are thrown into the finest of messes. Stories like this are perhaps a more modern take on the tales of princes and princesses, kings and queens. Where we once lived in a class system of crowns and balls, we now live in a contemporary class system of the rich, the mega-rich, and the crazy rich. As much as we love to read stories we can all relate to on a wider scale, these stories of how the other half lives are equally as entertaining, I would say. Although this story didn't elicit deep psychological questions of existential meaning, it was still quite fun and well written. Beep. Hello! Next, we have one of my favorite found authors from last year, Casey McQuiston. After reading Red, White, and Royal Blue, I knew I was going to read another one of her novels sooner or later. I just didn't expect it to be this much later. One Last Stop is McQuiston's latest modern romance that begins on a train. And if you've read my short story, Sweat and Honey, you know how sexy I find trains. It's funny that she's here for just for that. We have 23-year-old August, who has just moved to New York City with an otherwise negative outlook on love. Then she sees Jane on the subway, a girl that seems to have popped into 2021 from a different decade. This unexpected love story had magical and unexplained elements with a flair for the impossible. Honestly, just the fact that it's a girl meets girl on train, which is exactly what I wrote and published, that's the main reason I wanted to see what this was all about. And although it did not personally live up to the same feel as Red, White, and Royal Blue, it was still one of those satisfying love triumphs over all factors of life's story that just makes your toes warm, tingly. So if you've already read One Last Stop and are also looking for a feel-good public transit romance with a not-so-happy ending, check the link down below, Sweat and Honey. It's a short read. I hope you enjoy. Everyone dies. And the last title I read, hold on, this is in my face. And the last title I read in 2021, which made my top 10 list of last year, we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood. This one caught my eye not only due to its title, but the cover art. It has a comforting manga aesthetic, which I recently noticed has become a trend a lot. Trend. I'm actually losing track of authors and stories because it seems every newly published novel from different genres are adopting this bright color illustration, catch the eye type covers. I don't hate it. Back to the story. Written by Ali Hazelwood, this contemporary romance novel follows a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith, as she navigates the scientific complexities of finding love in the world of academia. What made me really want to read this one, not only for my own personal similarities to the main character, but for the main trope of a fake relationship. And I know it's been used a lot. It's a very common yet popular trope among contemporary and YA romance, but it has its appeals. It even has the one-bed scenario. It's because like they're in a fake relationship, but they have to make everyone else think that they're in a real relationship, and then they go somewhere and there's only one bed. What do you do? And then they have sex. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is coming quickly.
Yeah, that's quick.
What else are you supposed to do with just one bed?
Sleep.
Wait, is there a one bed in this one? No, the one bed is in this one. See, I'm having trouble keeping track of which one's which.
No,
this one has the one bed.
Where
this one does not.
we both read the same book and are in it together. Just to get me to read a damn book.
The greatest of romances spring from friendships first. At least that is what I have experienced. Pablo's my best friend. He also looks like Addie LaRue. Without foundation as well as the fear of having it all fall apart, fake relationships spring some of the most memorable and romantic scenes and dialogue. So you already know I gave this one a 5 out of 5 second star to the rights in that video. Go watch it. All right, now for our very first batch of TBR for this year. I have a lot on the list, but I'll keep it simple in numbers for now. First, we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. I have actually been avoiding this one for quite some time now, but it seems as though I have been bombarded with signs and opportunities to read this particular title. To get started, at least, I'm about 75–80% of the way through the first book now, and I have to be honest, I wasn't entirely in love with it before, but I kind of get it. A little bit. I wrote this when I was only 50% through, and now I read it all morning and I was like, oh, this is pretty good, actually. Maybe this genre just isn't exactly for me despite it being so popular, but I will say I do appreciate it incorporating fairies as a mythical creature of seduction rather than a vampire, because it's different. It's just been so embedded in my mind that vampires are sexy, and I never imagined a fairy being, I don't know, seductive, like... Tinkerbell is sexy. She's cute. But she's got the hips. No, she's sexy. She's got the hips. That's sexy. But it works, somewhat. At this point, I cannot say for certain if I intended on reading the entirety of the series. Actually, I can't. I'm gonna read them. I'll do it. It's pretty good. It's exciting. Next we have People We Meet on Vacation. This is another book I was 50% through when I wrote this, but now it's a bit... I was bored. I think we already have one of my top favorites of 2022 right here. Maybe I am this easy to impress, but even only a few chapters in, I felt something with these characters. My first tab was only on page 5. I was hooked immediately, not by the premise or plot, but by the characters. I have never been fond of traveling. Never. I have a strange social anxiety when it comes to public transportation or even long car rides. I just don't like being trapped. But this has given me a wanderlust. Wanderlust. A wanderlust I never thought I'd experience. Ironic, I feel this now, when we're all bound by a deadly virus to not leave our homes. I'll tell you, at the beginning of the pandemic, my life didn't change at all much. It was actually quite comfortable. But now, while reading this book, I long for a new city with my best friend, creating memorable and enjoying memorable life. What is that? Is that house that plays Christmas music on the outside of the house?
It's way past the time that
We're
it's
closing
okay.
that one now.
But now, while reading this book, I long for a new city with my best friend, creating memories and enjoying life. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry is not exactly about many people. It's about the friendship between two opposites and the things they learn about themselves and each other on their annual summer trips. The chapters fluctuate between this summer and 10 summers ago, 9 summers ago, 8 summers ago. I'm not even finished with it, and I already recommend this title to those feeling the beginning hints of cabin fever. It's a true escape. Also, there's a slow burn and a really nice payoff. I found a new genre that I really like.
Is that the one bed one?
Yes, there's one bed. Next, we have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is another title I picked up because of that colorful, eye-catching cover. I am a strong advocate of, yes, do judge a book by its cover. A little bit, at least. And its title. Judge a book by its title. This has a good title. Being an anxious person myself, this spoke to me instantly. In the bookstore while browsing through, I picked this one up because of the color, but took it home because of the description on the back. A group of 8 strangers in an apartment open house find themselves held hostage by a failed bank robber. Not at all what I was expecting. With each stranger bringing something unique and traumatic to the table, I can't wait to see how this story unfolds. According to the back of the book, Anxious People is an ingeniously constructed story about the enduring power of friendship, forgiveness, and hope. The things that save us, even in the most anxious of times. And apparently it's funny. I can't imagine it being funny, but apparently it's funny. And finally, we have a little free find on the Kindle Unlimited tab, Tender is the Flesh. One of these things is not like the other. I've been in a bit of a mood, but I want to go back to the please scare me. I love browsing the Kindle Unlimited tab, finding interesting new titles and new authors you otherwise may not have found. And with a Kindle Unlimited membership, they are free to download and read. Not sponsored, but I do believe I have a link somewhere you can click. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Batsarica is a Goodreads Choice Award nominee. In a world where a deadly virus makes the meat industry obsolete, rendering all meat poisonous to humans, we, of course, devolve to the only collective and acceptable opinion possible. Cannibalism! Yummy! But not just any form of cannibalism. Capitalistic cannibalism. I was on Goodreads checking out this title when I read a particular comment with a good point that almost made me rethink reading the book entirely. Why are reviewers not acknowledging the fact that the entire premise is utterly ridiculous? A virus that can get past the immune system of every animal except human? The idea that anybody would want to eat people just because they can't get their morning bacon or cheeky Nando's? Let alone enough people to make cannibalism government policy. I sat back after reading that comment and thought, yeah. Then I looked down and saw Emily's comment. Shatter all elements of argumentative reprieve. It's fiction, Paul. My dear Emily, you have a point. And so I'll give it a go. It's only 224 pages. I'm sure it won't take up too much of my time anyway. Thanks for the laugh, Emily. Well, that's all I have for you today, my dear viewers. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and click that bell to be notified when our next video goes up. Today's shout out goes to yet another mother-daughter duo. The daughter, I believe her name is Mariah, reached out to me on Instagram saying her mom, Renee, watches my channel and sends her my videos, and since she doesn't have social media herself, her daughter was able to find me on Instagram. So shout out to you, Renee, and your lovely daughter, Mariah. Thank you two so much for watching and supporting the channel through the year, 1 year, and for making this silly woman all the more happy to be here. It's me, I'm the silly woman. All right, I'm off to go lug a pile of plywood up a flight of stairs. See, this was written before this was made. And stand by and help as Pablo finishes building these shelves of my dreams. Send me photos of your bookshelves on Instagram. I would genuinely love to see your reading room set up. Stay lost, keep reading. Goodbye. Can we go eat now, please? I'm hungry. I found a new genre that I really like.
Is that
What?
the one bed one?
Yes, there's one bed.
Is it romance?
It's a contemporary romance, but they don't have sex on the bed. They have sex on the balcony.
Oh my god.
I know.
Risky.
In Palm Springs. It's
Oh.
fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Love it.
I feel like there's not a lot of things in Palm Springs. There must be like one-story places.
They were on a balcony. It's great. Okay.